Good morning, everyone. So glad that you can join us for our first service of 2022 here at First Church Unitarian in Littleton, Massachusetts. My name is Martha Childs, and I am grateful for the opportunity to serve on the standing committee and to be a part of this vibrant church community. Reviewing this week's Community Matters reminds me of the abundance of possibilities to participate in both local and larger world events and activities and initiatives. Be sure to check it out. I was particularly struck by this quote from Alan Cohen. "Do not wait until the conditions are perfect to begin. Beginning makes the conditions perfect." And by the way, hospitality is seeking ushers and flower donations for the next few weeks. Welcome to church.
Good morning, it's Molly, your music director. I wanted to introduce the prelude briefly. You're going to be hearing part of a waltz by Frédéric Chopin. Now, you might have heard his name before, but what I found out about him that I think is interesting is he was very particular about which piano pieces of his were actually published. And during his lifetime, he wrote about 36 piano waltzes, but he only published 8. And it was in his will that he wanted the rest of them to be destroyed. But his sisters decided not to do that and publish the rest of his waltzes and a lot of his other piano music. So I feel like that's something interesting to think about, you know, when you hear something like, if the composer wants it to be destroyed, like, should you keep it around? Should it be appreciated? But anyway, here is part of Chopin's waltz in C sharp minor.
Today, we contemplate the mysteries, the mystery of birth, the mystery of existence, the mystery of death. Coming from the great beyond, pausing here a while, and going back. We hold each other in our times of sorrow and loss, remembering together those so dearly loved and so recently lost. We magnify each other's joy in sharing the news of a birth, a new life in our own circle of family and friends. May we find together meaning and hope in the mysterious cycles, the wondrous and sacred circle of life. May we find some peace in the truth that passes understanding. May we appreciate this morning, even as we know we must let evening come. Let us worship. We start off our services by lighting our chalice. I'm going to light a chalice here behind me, and I will say the words of our covenant, and you can say them at home too if you like. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. So good morning. My name is Laura Hoke, and I am lucky enough to be the minister of First Church Unitarian in Littleton, Massachusetts. I'm so glad that you've joined us this morning on this Zoom service. Each year, it is our tradition on the first Sunday after the new year, Happy New Year. It's our tradition on the first Sunday of the year to have a Remembrance Sunday, where we remember loved ones that we lost this past year, and also say hello and celebrate the new lives in our life this year, new births. So I am glad you've joined us. If this is your first time with us, we're really glad you're here. And if you like, please stay on the Zoom after worship for fellowship, if you would like. And if you want to know more about us, if you haven't already looked at our website, it's fculittle.org, and you can find out quite a bit there. So it is good to be together, and I welcome you. A tip on Zoom, if you remember, in my Zoom, it's on the upper right, but you can pick speaker view or gallery view. If you select speaker view, it will highlight and blow up you'll get a close-up of the person speaking. If you pick gallery view, you'll see all the faces at once, and you can go back in between the two and it won't impact the rest of us. So just so you know, you have that option. All right. So again, welcome this morning, and I'm going to turn it over to our wonderful Director of Religious Education, Thea Shapiro, for the Time for All Ages.
There.
Better.
How's that?
Yeah, it's good.
All right. I'm so sorry. I'll start again. I'm sorry to take up Ida always. Gus lived in a big park in the middle of an even bigger city. Buildings grew around him and shifted the shape of the sky. Zookeepers poked in and out. Visitors came and went. But every morning the keys clicked and the shoes clacked. Gus crawled out of his cave and spent his day with Ida. Ida was right there always. Gus tossed the ball, Ida was there to catch it. And when Gus splashed water, Ida was there to splash him right back. They chased and raced until the school bell rang. Then the two friends flopped onto their favorite rock while the city pulsed around them. I wish I could see it, Gus sighed. You don't have to see it to feel it, said Ida. Listen. They heard buses groan, trucks rumble, police whistle, taxis honk, pigeons coo, people say, hey, wait, yo, hello, and children laugh. That's the city's heartbeat, said Ida. It's right here with us always. When the sky grew dark, Gus and Ida waved goodnight and crawled off to their caves. With the subway humming underground, they added their snores to the sounds of their city. Every day was always the same. Until one morning, when the keys clicked and the shoes clacked, Gus crawled out. But Ida wasn't there. Gus lumbered to Ida's cave. He heard her breathing, coughing, snoring, sleeping. He sat in their sunniest spot and waited. The coffee carts ground their beans and the squirrels squabbled over crumbs. Visitors shuffled in. Keepers bustled about. Ida had never slept so late. Snow monkeys and taxicabs screeched. Ice cream trucks jingled. Still, Ida didn't come. Keeper Sonia came instead. Sonia told Gus that Ida was very sick. Usually there's a way to make a sick bear better, but this time was different. Ida wouldn't hurt, but she would get tired and too weak to swim and play. Then one day, when her body stopped working, Ida would die. Sonia's voice was soft, but the words felt rough to Gus. His insides churned, his chin shook, the sky rumbled. Gus rushed to his friend. "Don't go," he growled. "Don't go, don't go, don't." Ida growled right back. Together they stomped and snarled. Their growls turned into howls so loud they filled up the zoo, raising higher than skyscrapers, scaring pigeons, surging towards stars. And then they stopped. The two friends folded into one shadow and slumped quietly on the rocks. Two bare noses sniffled, two bare breaths panted, two bare hearts echoed each other's beat. A plane roared overhead. Gus and Ida wondered where it was going. They wondered where Ida was going. They wondered and guessed and imagined as they whispered nose to nose. "Wherever I go," said Ida, "I bet I'll always smell your fishy breath." This made Gus smile. He wasn't sure if he should, but Ida was giggling too, and they let their laughs bounce back and forth between them. From then on, Ida spent most days in her cave. She slept a lot, but she didn't hurt. The keepers took good care of her. And Gus helped. He gathered her favorite toys and fishy treats. He brought her visitors' notes. There were growling days and laughing days, and days that mixed them up. Sometimes Ida needed a moment alone, and sometimes Gus did too. And by the end of each day, Gus always told Ida, "I will miss you." And Ida always told Gus, "I'll miss you too." And they would cuddle until the sky grew dark and the lamps of the city clicked on. And they would wave goodnight 1,000 times, and then wave a few more times. Then one sunny day, while Gus smoothed her fur, Ida curled into quiet. Her eyes fluttered shut, and they didn't open anymore. Gus pressed one last pat into Ida's paw. The paper shared the news. The city cried. For days, the zoo was filled with goodbyes. Now, when the keys clicked and the shoes clack, Gus crawls out of his cave knowing Ida won't be there. He dives and swims alone. And he eats lunch with Sonia, and they roll Ida's favorite yellow ball. Some days Gus forgets. He looks for Ida on the rocks, in the cave, behind the waterfall. When he remembers she isn't there, he rests in the shadow. But even in the shadows, the sounds of the city reach him. He hears buses groan, trucks rumble, police whistle, taxis honk, pigeons coo, and people say, "Hey, wait, yo, hello," and children laugh. And Gus smiles. He steps into the spot where Ida liked to soak in the sun, listen to their city pulsing around him. He remembers that Ida said, "You don't have to see it to feel it." The sidewalk taps, the streets hum, Gus's heart beats, and Ida is right there, always. It's a tearjerker. I had to read that like 10 times.
Thank you, Thea.
Good morning. My reading today is A Common Destiny by David H. Eaton. All living substance, all substance of energy, being, and purpose are united and share the same destiny. All people, those we love and those we know not of, are united and share the same destiny. Birth to death, we share this unity with the sun, earth, our brothers and sisters, strangers, flowers of the field, snowflakes, volcanoes and moonbeams. Birth, life, death. Unknown, known, unknown. our destiny from unknown to unknown. May we have the faith to accept this mystery and build upon its everlasting truth.
Thank you, Bill. Each week, we have a time for generosity. This is a chance to share with some of your friends at First Church Unitarian and others that we serve in the community, some of your generous spirit. As you know, we depend on the generosity of our members and friends to support the good works of First Church Unitarian, both in what we do within our walls and in what we do beyond our walls. So as you are able and as you wish, you could make an offering today to First Church Unitarian. You'll see our address here if you want to mail in a check, or you can go to the website and the address is there as well. And at the website, you'll see a yellow donate button. You can click there and learn about the process of donating online if you wish to do that. And if this is your first time with us, please don't feel obligated to make an offering, but consider this service as our gift to you. This morning's offering will now be given and received in grateful appreciation.
I just want to mention real quick that you might have seen the title of what the offering is today. It's called I Love You by Cole Porter. But this is not a traditional love song, and I chose it because it's kind of misleading in a good way. I wanted to read you a little bit of the lyrics. I love you hums the April breeze. I love you echoes the hill. I love you the golden dawn agrees as once more she sees daffodils. It's spring again, and birds on the wing again start to sing again. The old melody, I love you. That's the song of songs, and it all belongs to you and me.
Thank you, Molly. That's beautiful. I forgot to mention before the reason that we're on Zoom. Originally, we thought that we might have really nasty weather today, but we also realized this is a very interactive service. And with our current level of technology, it works better online in some ways than it would as a hybrid service with so many of you at home. So we are online today. And with the Omicron variant being so contagious and people making so many family visits, it might be just as well in any case. But thank you again for joining us here on Zoom. This year, as last year, one of the, I suppose, bonuses of doing this particular service online is that we can share photographs. So for those of you who sent in photographs of loved ones that you lost in this past year, they are together in the video that you will see now.
In this past year, we have lost irreplaceable family and friends dear to us. Some close at hand, others far away, all sorely missed. We will begin by lighting 2 candles in loving memory of our FCU loved ones whom we lost this year. We light 1 candle to honor Judy White, and another to honor Alice Schaefer. We miss our friends dearly. Now, I invite anyone who wishes to tell us briefly about a friend or family member who has died this past year. Please tell us your name as well as the name of the person you are remembering. Please raise the virtual hand in the reactions or participants function of Zoom, and we will call on you. We will then call on those raising their actual hands as we see you. Laura will light a candle for those you name.
Joel and Pam.
Yes, hi. We're lighting this remembrance candle for our stepfather's dear friend, Carolyn Hunter. She was a companion and a loved one for him. And she was so beloved and caring to the very end for Ed, right there by his side. Additionally, she became very dear to us. And although there was no biology there, she was like a mother to us as well. She died in July, just about a year after Ed did. And we really miss her.
I also want to light a candle for my cousin, Michael Peter Schwartz, who died about 2 weeks ago. He was like a big brother for me.
Karen and Jim?
Yeah, I'd like to light a candle for my great aunt, Lucy Barasano. She passed away in August at the age of 101. She would have been 102 in September. And a wonderful lady. When I was an infant, she and my Uncle Ralph, Uncle Ray, took us in when we were essentially homeless. And I'll always remember her. She's a wonderful lady. Her key to happiness and longevity was a positive mental attitude and a glass of wine every day. Rest in peace, Aunt Lucy.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Hi. This candle I'm lighting is for my cousin, Ernie Norton. As some of you know, I spoke about this earlier in the year. Ernie passed away as a result of COVID in the spring. He was one of what we like to refer to as the senior cousins, because, he was so much older than we were. However, that didn't stop Ernie. And as you could probably tell if you caught his photo, Ernie was the jokester of the family, always had a story to tell, always had us rolling in the aisles at every family reunion. And he was an integral part of my cousin Scott's family, moved in with Scott and his wife Suzanne, and helped them raise their 4 children. And I know that those children will always remember Uncle Ernie, because Uncle Ernie was unforgettable. Thanks.
Rochelle?
Hi, I light this candle for my father-in-law. Don McLeod, who died the day after Christmas. He was a good man and a good father, and he was the best father I ever had.
Peggy and Carl?
4 of those pictures were for us.
Please speak up a little.
I said 4 of those pictures were for us. I'll start with the ones you don't know. Bobby Allen was my mother's younger brother who died this fall of dementia. And he had 4 daughters, one of whom had a husband named Kevin Champagne, who died. His heart gave out during a nap a couple of days, well, the weekend after Christmas, or before Christmas rather. And Harriet Smith was my father's cousin. She was mentally challenged, and when she was little, they said she'd never make it to adulthood. She died in her 80s in January, a couple of weeks from my dad's death. Neither of them knew that the other was gone. And then, of course, Carl Britton Sr. was my father, who died a year ago this month of COVID.
Doug?
So this death I actually associate with happy youthful summers, because every summer I would go to this place called Westport Harbor, and he was a friend of my parents, and would always make a big event every year of taking the entire gaggle of kids to Lincoln Park and feed them enough cotton candy to get sick on that whirly ride. And so I always associate him with being young, which I don't think I am quite anymore, and fun and summertime.
Meg?
I like this candle from my brother, Richard A. Greenslow, who died in April after a decline from Parkinson's disease and associated dementia. He was a wonderful big brother, and I miss him dearly. Thank you.
David?
For my mother-in-law, Loretta Osmond Field, the last of five sisters to go to her rest. Wonderful woman.
Chris and Peter?
Hi, this is Peter, and I'm lighting the candle for Rick Kegler, who was our daughter-in-law, Cindy Kegler's father. He passed away in November, just before Thanksgiving.
Bill?
Yes, like to light a candle of remembrance for my cousin, one of 20 cousins I have on my Dustin side, Paul Butters, who died at 74 in Bedford, Maine. He's a sweet guy with always a friendly smile, and gonna miss him. Thank you.
Christine?
I'd like to light two candles. The first is for Malcolm Peck, my stepbrother-in-law, who was a terribly sweet fellow and an absolute genius with airplanes. The second candle is for Bob Saladay, who is a stepfather. Thank you.
Lori?
Hi, I have two candles. One is for my cousin Danny Hoseman, and he just passed a few weeks ago. And he lives in Chicago, and all my memories are just so great of every time I went to Chicago hanging out with the family. And he was a mad wine drinker. And I have such happy memories of always celebrating with him. And I lost my Uncle Nate in August. And just, I don't have a memory in my life without my uncle involved in some family aspect. So he will be sorely missed.
I don't see any raised hands.
Oh, I'd like to remember Graciela Hoke. She was my half-brother Jeremy's wife, and she died just on Christmas after a very brief illness.
Debbie?
Just lifting up Judy and Alice, both very, very dear to me, and I'm going to generalize that to all that knew them. Really remarkable women, and we are so blessed to have had them in our lives. I miss them, and they will always always be with me.
Laura, are you ready for the next reading?
Hello, my name is Monica Pillman and I serve as one of the deacons here at FCU. The following words are titled Remember Me by Margaret Mead. To the living, I am gone. To the sorrowful, I will never return. To the angry, I was cheated. But to the happy, I am at peace. And to the faithful, I have never left. I cannot speak, but I can listen. I cannot be seen, but I can be heard. So as you stand upon a shore, gazing at a beautiful sea, as you look upon a flower and admire its simplicity, remember me. Remember me in your heart, your thoughts, and your memories of the times we loved, the times we cried, the times we fought, the times we laughed. For if you always think of me, I will never have gone.
Thank you, Monica. The other bonus of doing this service online is we get to see wonderful pictures of some of the new babies in our lives. And so for those of you who sent in photos of these beautiful babies, you will see them now in this short video.
Hello again. Loss is leavened by the joy of newcomers coming into our family. I invite anyone who wishes to light a candle to celebrate a child that is dear to you who was born in the past year, whether from the FCU extended family or beyond. As before, please use the virtual hand in the reactions or the participant function of Zoom, and we will call on you. After that, we will call on real life hands that we see raised. Please tell us your name and the name of the child and light a candle if you have one. Thank you.
Lori.
Hi, I want to celebrate my great nephew, Wyatt Hartzell. He was born February 15th. My first, well, it's not my first great nephew.
This is Jade. She just had her first birthday. Wave. Wave to the people. See? Wave to the people. Can you wave? Okay.
Karen and Jim?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to welcome little Joseph Arthur Owen IV to Vanessa and Joe. He was born on, I want to say November
24th.
24th. Thank you, honey. And is doing quite well. He's a happy little boy.
And I would like to celebrate the birth of Isabella Grace Duran to my daughter and her husband. So that's Nicole and Patrick Duran on September 10th of this year.
Jed?
Hi, my nephew and his wife, Anders Olson and Corinne Olson, are about to have a baby, possibly today, possibly tomorrow. So stay tuned this time next year. I don't have a name yet, but it's going to be a girl. Thank you.
Go ahead, Bill.
Yes, I'd like to celebrate the birth of my nieces and her husband, Nathaniel's little Pippin. Pippin Thomas Nose. They live in Ayr, and it's really nice to have them close by. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to?
Cheryl's good.
Oh, Cheryl, hang on.
Hi, so Camille, Joseph, Charles, Jolin, the son of Casey Duty and Josh Jolin, and my honorary grandson. And he was born August 16th. And we're so delighted and happy. And we got to have him for Christmas. And it was so much fun.
Anyone else? Cindy, I think you're up.
Thank you, Mike. It's my pleasure to read these words by Thich Nhat Hanh. Where were you before you were born? Ask a cloud, what is the date of your birth? Before you were born, where were you? If you ask the cloud, how old are you? Can you give me your date of birth? You can listen deeply and you may hear a reply. You can imagine the cloud being born. Before being born, it was the water on the ocean's surface, or it was in the river, and then it became vapor. It was also the sun, because the sun makes the vapor. The wind is there too, helping the water to become a cloud. The cloud does not come from nothing. There has been only a change in form. It is not a birth of something out of nothing. Sooner or later, the cloud will change into rain or snow or ice. If you look deeply into the rain, you can see the cloud. The cloud is not lost. It is transformed into rain, and the rain is transformed into grass, and the grass into cows, and then to milk, and then into the ice cream you eat. Today, if you eat an ice cream, Give yourself time to look at the ice cream and say, "Hello, cloud, I recognize you." By doing that, you have insight and understanding into the real nature of the ice cream and the cloud. You can also see the ocean, the river, the heat, the sun, the grass, and the cow in the ice cream. Looking deeply, you do not see a real date of birth, and you do not see a real date of death for the cloud. All that happens is that the cloud transforms into rain or snow. There is no real death because there is always a continuation. A cloud continues the ocean, the river, and the heat of the sun, and the rain continues the cloud. Before it was born, the cloud was already there. So today, when you drink a glass of milk or a cup of tea or eat an ice cream, please follow your breathing. Look into the tea or the ice cream and say hello to the cloud. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. If you've been attending First Church Unitarian or another Unitarian Universalist congregation for a while, you know by now that we have 7 principles. Sometimes less well known is that we also say we have 6 sources of our tradition. So we have inspiration from direct experience, words of prophetic people, wisdom from world religions, wisdom from Christianity and Judaism, and we have, of course, humanism as the 5th source. But the 6th source, finally, is spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. Each year, when we come to this Sunday, Remembrance Sunday, I find myself thinking about the sacred circle of life as it's conceived in different earth-centered traditions. There's nothing more fundamental to human experience than birth and death, the mysteries of birth and the mysteries of death. Modern Unitarian decidedly humanistic bent, and we spend most of our energy on what comes in between those 2 profound events. Namely, we spend most of our times thinking about how to live a meaningful life that helps to heal the world in some way. And I would never want to change that. But I also think it's good to spend some time contemplating the entry into and the exit from our lives. The words you just heard moments ago by Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh remind me of something we thought about together in a recent service on consciousness. Namely, in addition to wondering where we go when we die, which many of us wonder, we might just as well ponder where we were before we were born. Whatever you might personally believe or guess about life after death or life before birth, we know that our time in this human life is brief, even for those of us who, like wonderful Betty White, live to be almost 100 years old. Part of the glorious beauty, part of the intensity of life is that we know the time is actually quite limited. Today, with our candles of love and memory, we honor those we love in the very best way through the simple but reverent act of saying the names, perhaps telling the stories. We remember those we loved, and they are with us as long as we live. and they live on even as others will eventually be remembering us. Today, the losses we shared are fresh, and fresh grief can be so very hard. And it can be hard in that early part of the grieving process to see the beauty of the life cycle, even in its ending sometimes. And we hold those of you who are experiencing fresh loss, the loss of a loved one in just this past year. We hold you in our loving thoughts, and perhaps prayers, in our wishes for your healing. And we hope that you will lean on us. We are here for each other. I think of the words of Unitarian Universalist minister Edward Searle, words I sometimes share in memorial services. He wrote, "A human life is sacred. It is sacred in its being born. It is sacred in its living. And it is sacred in its dying." This morning, of course, we also shared candles of hope and joy, remembering the dear babies who were born in this past year, babies in our own circles of caring, babies of family and friends. And this is part of the circle of life that is generally more pleasant to ponder, the part that brings us hope and joy, as we named it today. And yet it is the entire circle of life that is sacred, and that includes death, every bit as important as birth. In its fullest sense, life is a circle with no beginning and no end. And together we honor it all. I want to close by sharing words of Joy Harjo, a member of the Muskogee Cree Nation and Poet Laureate of the United States. She writes, "To pray, you open your whole self to sky, to earth, to sun, to moon, to one whole voice that is you, and know there is more that you can't see, can't hear, can't know, except in moments steadily growing, and in languages that aren't always sound, but other circles in motion. Like eagle that Sunday morning over Salt River, circled in blue sky and wind, swept our hearts clean with sacred wings. We see you, see ourselves, and know that we must take the utmost care and kindness in all things. Breathe in, knowing we are made of all this, and breathe, knowing we are truly blessed because we were born, and die soon within a true circle of motion, like eagles rounding out the morning inside us. We pray that it will be done in beauty, in beauty. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
I got a
Thank you, Molly and choir. If you are still on speaker view, I encourage you to put it into gallery view so that you see all the different boxes of faces in the grid. And for our closing words, I invite you to hold your hands up, perhaps to the sides of your screen. We're sort of virtually touching each other, touching hands. And here are our closing words. Life is indeed a never-ending sacred circle. We are all in this together through the mysteries, through the bliss, and through hard times too. May we be there for each other for times when we are grieving and going through loss. And may we be there for each other too in times of great celebration, in times of celebrating the new life and other great things that come into our lives. May we always remember that you cannot have new life without endings of life. That we are all one, all part of the oneness in ways seen and unseen. May we always honor this sacred truth. Blessed be, and amen.
Our postlude today comes to you from the sanctuary last Thursday evening, and it is a tango by Albaneth.
Thank you, Molly. That was beautiful. I just wanted you all to get a quick look at all the candles we had this morning. So thank you, all of you, for being a part of this service.